I think small talk is so underrated, right? Simply because as human beings, our nature is to try to figure out whether I can trust you or not if I don't know you. First thing we're trying to figure out, we're casing, right? And so the first thing we're doing is we start with the safest place we could possibly be, small talk. And if that small talk goes well, it turns into commonalities. And then if that goes well, then, kind of sky's the limit.
What we typically find is that you have to start with something which is like small talk, obviously. That's like kind of stage one of conversation. You start with like, oh, how about these things? But when you get into the shared experience stuff, that's usually how we make friendships in real life. So like one of the examples that I always like talking about is like, who are your friends growing up? Maybe you went to college with them. You lived with them in a dorm. Both were on the track team or did hockey or something. Or your parents are friends with each other. These kind of things that create these common interests allow you to make friends with people. And it's actually the same thing that you can do in sales when you're doing outreach with somebody. It's one of the ways that like, I've always been able to get really good conversion rates when I used to prospect and send emails out to people. And then if you get that common interest, what ends up happening is you build rapport with them and get that going. And the third piece of the puzzle turns into they actually, if you start sharing your feelings with them afterward, they'll start sharing their feelings and you end up getting to a point where you're not being uncomfortable selling to that person because you both poured your hearts out.
Hey, welcome to the Future of Selling podcast, where we dive into challenges, we dive into trends, innovations, anything that's impacting the future of sales or the sales landscape. I'm your host, Rick Smith. I'm so appreciative that you've decided to join us today. I think we're going to have a great conversation. I hope it's something that you can kind of take with you back to your industry and your company and your life and make some nice improvements. Our guest today is Ryan O'Hara. Ryan is the founder and the CEO of Pitchfire, and Ryan believes that traditional cold outreach is irreparably broken. And we've got to change that to survive. So we thought that was a really interesting point of view, and that's one of the reasons we want to get Ryan on. Pitchfire is revolutionizing B2B prospecting through what he calls paid prospecting. So I can't wait to find out more about that. Ryan built Pitchfire to make cold outreach more respectful. I think that's a really cool way to think about that. More respectful and effective by compensating prospects for the time and attention. His campaigns and marketing insights have been featured in some really cool media, Fortune, Mashable, the next web. And I'm just excited to have you on today, Ryan. I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation, but also the things I can learn based on what I already know and doing some research about you. So Ryan, welcome to the podcast, and really appreciate your time, man.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I like your company a lot. A couple years ago, I got a cool Yeti mug from you guys that I still use almost every day.
Beautiful.
So excellent.
The little half mug and
love it. Unbelievable quantity. Incredible. It makes it so I don't overdose on caffeine when I drink coffee in the morning.
That's good. That's a good fun fact right there. So
everybody gives the big one, but I like the half cup. That's the classy hack here.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we still give those out, by the way. So maybe we'll get you another one headed your direction. As we get started, I always like to think about, kind of some fun facts, one or two fun facts about you that we've either, we've kind of done some research and things like that. But just to give people an opportunity to find out about who you are, right? Make it a little more personal. So one fun fact I just found out about you is that you were in the process of recording yourself singing with a piano, and you're actually going to send these things to prospects in order to, gain attention, get them talking to you. So that sounds kind of fun. How's that going?
It's so far, it's been pretty good. So I have on LinkedIn, I've been sending LinkedIn messages to people, and up until a couple months ago, you could only record in real time and then send it to someone on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And what they've done with LinkedIn Video now, if you have premium, is you could actually record a video, save it to your gallery, then attach it and send it afterwards. So what I've been doing is recording videos that are actually edited. And what I've been doing right now is I have a piano, I have this microphone, and I've been looking for people that I'm trying to sell to, usually mid-sized 200 to 500 employees in B2B. And I'm trying to get them to get their whole team on Pitchfire.
Yeah.
And so I've been sending songs to them. I did 3 so far this morning. I do them in batches. So like, I'm like going to go block off time and do like 12 in one sitting.
Yeah.
Then I move. Then usually my voice is trashed after
Yeah.
that because I'm not a good singer.
All right.
But
that will make it even more interesting if you're not a good singer, you know?
I've had some people write back and say, "Dude, get auto-tuned."
Yeah.
But here's the thing, guys. I'm raw. Okay.
Right.
I'm doing like punk songs. I don't need to do Cher or Celine Dion stuff for you.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right.
yeah, so I've been sending that on LinkedIn Messenger. It's been pretty good. I usually can hear back from like if they see it, 30 or 40% of people. The hard part about doing it is like, it obviously takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really strong though. So I think that goes right along with our theme today. We're going to be talking about, right, is, outbound, how to make that more effective. So anyway, that's one fun fact. A couple of others, right? You were a guerrilla marketing prodigy. I found out that in college you created a Super Bowl TV ad that went viral on Mashable. And this actually kind of landed your first job in college or out of college, sounds like, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So when I was in college senior year, I interned at a company, and during the Super Bowl, Google launched their first Super Bowl ad. Right. And it was this whole story about a guy falling in love with a girl in Paris, and like they just showed his Google search and like they told this love story. Honestly, it was a really good ad. Like made you feel something like, I gotta go Google something. Holy crap. But that night I couldn't sleep, and I was like, I'm just going to stay up. I'm going to make a parody of that and make fun of the fact that like you can Google people to be a creep.
Right.
And so I told a story about like this guy being a creep to this girl and like stalking her and trying to like it looked like him trying to, it was like the opposite of the love story.
Right.
Basically, he's just this guy that wouldn't leave this girl alone. And I put it up online. I woke up the next day and had 200,000 views.
That's
yeah. So like, and then like I had a bunch at the end of the video. I put a link to my website that had my resume because I was looking for work.
Yeah.
And I had like a bunch of people call me about work and jobs and stuff afterward.
That's incredible. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was cool.
And then probably last fun fact to share, a philosopher of conversation stages. The reason I like this is because I was just talking to our last guest on the podcast about, I think this topic, right? So what that means is that conversations evolve from small talk to shared experiences and to deep emotions. And kind of what we talked about last time was how, you hear some people say, man, don't give me any small talk. Just tell me what you know and I'll make a decision. And, don't engage CEOs in small talk. And I just completely disagree with that point of view. So I'm looking forward, maybe at some point as we kind of go through the conversation today, we can talk more about, small talk to shared experiences to deep emotions. So,
do I jump into that now or wait?
I don't want to right now. Yeah. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. So I obviously got my start in working I wanted to do marketing when I got out of school, but I graduated in 2008, 2009 when the economy was like kind of tanking.
Yeah.
So all the entry level marketing jobs were getting scooped up by people that were a little bit more senior. And I was like, what am I going to do? And it turns out that ad ended up getting me some momentum, and I got hired as the first BDR, business development rep, at this company called Dine.
Yeah.
And I just prospected a ton. And I tried to start writing down things that worked when I'd prospect someone with a cold email or a cold call. And I kept track of all these things, and eventually they turned it into training at Dine. So like we hired, I think probably over 90 reps when I was there, and I trained them all on things that worked for prospecting back then. And a lot of that stuff never went away.
Right.
Like that was like now probably 13 or 14 years ago, but like it still works. What we typically find is that you have to start with something which is like small talk, obviously. That's like kind of stage one of conversation. You start with like, oh, how about these things? But when you get into the shared experience stuff, that's usually how we make friendships in real life.
Yeah.
So like one of the examples that I always like talking about is like who are your friends growing up? Maybe you went to college with them. You lived with them in a dorm.
Yeah.
You both were on the track team or did hockey or something.
Yeah.
Or your parents are friends with each other. These kind of things that create these common interests allow you to make friends with people. And it's actually the same thing that you can do in sales when you're doing outreach with somebody. It's one of the ways that like I've always been able to get really good conversion rates when I used to prospect and send emails out to people. I still do it today as a founder, but like it's just a little bit different than it used to be when you're an SDR or an AE.
Right. Gotcha.
And then if you get that common interest, what ends up happening is you build rapport with them and get that going. And the third piece of the puzzle turns into they actually, if you start sharing your feelings with them afterward, they'll start sharing their feelings, and you end up getting to a point where you're not being uncomfortable selling to that person because you both poured your hearts out to it. I actually have a really good story I could tell you right now if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
About this. Yeah. So I talk about this. I guest lecture and do 4 classes on prospecting at the University of New Hampshire every semester. And I always tell this story to the students, but I remember there was a guy that I was calling once. When I was working at Dine, he had a startup that he made, but his day job was working at a company called StumbleUpon, which was a really popular app that people used to use, like where you could like just go to random websites and it would find cool websites for you to go to based on your interest in your web browsing history and stuff. So this guy was working there as a system admin. And I wanted to sell to him, and I cold called him. And I remember when I cold called him on the call, I was like, "Hey, I saw that you have a startup that you do with us, like that you started on the side.
Right.
Tell me more about that. I want to start a startup someday." Funny, I eventually did. I'm now working on my own startup.
Yeah.
But anyway, I used that as common interest with him. And we talked about startups for like a couple minutes on the call. And I was like, "So the reason I was calling you is I want to sell into StumbleUpon, but I don't know anyone there.
Yeah.
You're the system admin. You're usually someone we sell to. I know you're doing the startup thing, but would you be open to talking about this?" And long story short, we talked for a little bit, and it was right before Thanksgiving. And at the end of the call, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving?" And on the call, the guy revealed to me that he was going to go home to his parents and come out to them.
Wow.
And I was like he had figured out that he was gay recently and was like, "I'm going to actually tell them this weekend that I'm gay." And I'm like, "Holy crap. You could do it, man. That's huge." And I'm just a rep that lives in my mom's basement, blown away that he's telling me this. But I'm like, "You could do it. You know, I'm sure they'll be fine. Like, it's okay. All this, blah, 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 blah." Anyway, next week, we get on the call. I'm handing the deal off to the AE.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the call, I'm like, "Hey, Brian, how'd it go?" And he's like, "It went great. My parents understood. Everything's great. I feel so much better, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "That's so good. I'm so happy for you, man."
Yeah.
And like, we ended up making that connection because he let out his feelings and emotions.
Right.
And I shared some emotions and feelings that I had about going to my family's house for Thanksgiving, also in a different context. But moral of the story is like the rep that I had on the call was like, "What the hell did you guys talk about in that cold call last week?" So like, if you do it, you open up. And he became a customer, and eventually he went on to go work on a company called Bump. He worked at eBay, he worked at Dropbox, and instead of filling out a lead form, he came back to me and went through me every time.
Yeah.
And I got credit for these opportunities because I built a relationship with him.
Yeah. No, I think small talk is so underrated, right? Simply because as human beings, our nature, I don't know if it's DNA, but our nature is to try to figure out whether I can trust you or not if I don't know you. It's the first thing we're trying to figure out. We're casing, right? And so the first thing we're doing is we start with the safest place we could possibly be, small talk. And if that small talk goes well, then to your point, it turns into commonalities. And then if that goes well, then, kind of sky's the limit. So I think it's a great story. And I think that's a great approach as well. Let's kind of use that to jump into our topic today. So I want to talk about kind of how to breathe life back into cold outreach, right? And kind of your point of view on this is, hey man, it's broken, it needs help, but you're already telling us some ways that to improve it. So let me ask you this: so what originally kind of led you to believe that cold outreach is broken? Was there a moment or an experience that kind of pushed you over the edge and like, okay, this thing's broken, I have to do something about it?
Yeah. So when I first joined Lead IQ as the VP of Marketing and Growth, I was doing prospecting, and we used to do this state of prospecting every year.
Yeah.
We'd ask people what their average reply rates were, what their average connect rates were. And they would, go look in a tool like yours or someone else's to see like, what am I getting for a reply rate? Connect rates were a little harder to measure, but they'd keep track of it sometimes with data providers and third parties and stuff.
Yeah.
We found that in 2016, the average connect rate on a cold call was close to 10%, and the average reply rate on a cold email was close to 6%.
Yeah.
In 2021, we did it again, and only this time Lead IQ was much bigger. Like we were Series B back, like had way more customers and way more partners and clout. And so we got a lot more people to take it. We asked the same questions, almost sent the same exact survey out to publish the state of prospecting.
Right.
The average reply rate on connect rate on a cold call dropped from 10% to 3%.
Wow.
And the average reply rate on a cold email had dropped from 6% to 0.7%.
Okay.
And so I saw this and was like, uh-oh, because I'm working in a company that's selling prospecting software. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, we were making software for you to get contact data and stuff. And I was like, what are we going to do if these numbers hit zero?
Yeah.
And so I started to do a deep dive into that. And I was like, everybody's looking and talking to all these top 1% salespeople on what they're doing that's making them perform still.
Right.
And I thought about doing the opposite. And so what I did is I went and talked to the top 1% of buyers that were getting prospected the most.
Yeah.
And what was one of the advantages I had is at LeadIQ, I could see what people were getting captured the most using our tool.
Okay.
So I just went and asked these people how often you get cold emailed, how often you get cold called. And one of the big things that I learned is that everybody switching to using templates and blast and not doing any personalization and stuff had actually just trained all these people to ignore cold calls and cold emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started to see this and think like, writing a cold email on a cold call is almost like yelling at a football stadium when it used to be like yelling at a library. Like you'd really stand out and do something to get in front of someone.
Right.
Now, even if you're a good top 1% prospector and you personalize your outreach, you're sending piano videos to people.
Yeah.
You're still going to have a slim chance that actually hits the inbox and gets in front of that person.
Yeah.
Because reps have ruined it with spam and bots, and inbox providers have cracked down. And so I started to see these things. I'm not trying to besmirch sales engagement because you still need to do that stuff. It's just the game of how you use it is really different than how it used to be.
Right. Gotcha. So that was a point at which you were like, okay, this thing is broken. We need to do something else. Is that what kind of led you to, and I want to know more about it, is that what led you to found Pitchfire? And was that the answer? And so just tell us. Tell us about Pitchfire. What is it? How does it work? What makes it effective?
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I talked to them and I was like, well, what would make you actually go back and hit up these reps?
Yeah.
And we started to find out a lot of the people that were getting prospected were actually people in marketing and demand generation. Those people get prospected. Actually, you probably do too. You run a whole client success team and stuff. Those three buckets were the people that were getting prospected the most.
Okay.
And when we investigated that, we found out that people were actually willing to go and talk to these people if they're getting compensated. Unfortunately, the first iteration of the business failed. And the first iteration of the business was you just go buy meetings with people. So I'd get a bunch of people to agree to list their calendars out on our marketplace, and they get paid to take meetings with vendors. And what we found out is if you buy a meeting with someone, about 10 minutes in, they'll know they're a bad fit, but because they're getting compensated, they hang out for another 20 minutes and waste the rep's time.
Right.
And then a lot of them actually felt bad telling the rep that they weren't interested. So they hang out, they go do another call and a third call, and it just ended up not working.
Yeah.
So we did that for about 2 years before realizing we went and dug deeper. And what we found out is that if you buy meetings, the porridge is a little too hot.
Yeah.
The actual sweet spot is buying a response off of a prospect and paying them less. So instead of paying $200 for a meeting, you could pay someone $50 or $60 for a response, and the ratio ends up being better and more economical. And you qualify or disqualify out that person right off the bat, paying for the response instead. And that's kind of what we did and what we shifted to.
What's a response look like? When you say a response versus a meeting, what are they? You're paying $50 for a response. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, responses can start as low as $25. If you're a sales rep listening to this, you can go on our marketplace and find someone you want to pitch.
Okay.
And you bid for getting them to respond. You can pick $25. You can pick $2,000, whatever your company has for pricing. Right. If there's ROI, do whatever you want to get a response. But a response would be, yes, I'm interested. Let's meet. Here's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm not interested. Here's why I'm not interested. And they have to give you a reason why they're not interested. So if they say they use another competitor, we make them tell you what competitor they're using and when does the contract expire.
Okay.
If they say that they're not interested, they have to give you a reason why they're not interested. And we give them a character limit that they have to do it in.
Okay.
If you buy a response and the person gives you a bad response, you bug us and we'll refund you. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, we actually have only had to do that twice ever. And so instead of paying $200 for a meeting and flapping your gums at somebody for 30 minutes and realizing it's not a fit, you just can get the person to qualify or disqualify themselves and get onto a call. I can share the metrics with you if you want to know about it after too.
Yeah. Well, I'd love that, as a matter of fact. And because, a lot of sales leaders obviously still look at metrics like how many meetings were booked, discovery calls were conducted. But do you have new and different success metrics that you're tracking now based on the way Pitchfire is approaching this outreach?
Yeah. So when we did some studies on this, we saw that on average, if you use a sales engagement platform, you'll have to do about 220 activities to generate a meeting.
Okay.
On Pitchfire, you have to do 3. So you only have to send 3 pitches on Pitchfire. 1 in 3 of the people that get a pitch on Pitchfire will actually take a meeting with you.
Wow.
So that's the crazy part about this whole thing is like, when I started this journey and we were originally selling meetings, I was like, oh, I'd rather just get a meeting for $200. It's a no-brainer. But buying responses is actually better because you could send 3 responses for, let's say you send 3 pitches for $25 a pop.
Yeah.
You might only spend $75 to get 1 meeting.
Right.
Which is way better than like an average enterprise company spends $3,500 to produce a meeting in real life outside of Pitchfire.
So just so I get it and it's clear to me. So if I'm a seller and I'm utilizing your platform, Pitchfire, right?
Yep.
Would I say, hey, here's 10 people that I would like to contact. And then through the Pitchfire technology, it actually reaches out to those 10 people and says, hey, basically asks them if they want to participate. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So with paid prospecting, we have a couple different ways that you can do it. The most popular way is our marketplace. So we get a bunch of people. Think of us almost like a data provider.
Yeah.
We go except all the people that we have data on have opted in to receive pitches from us. So what they'll do is they'll opt in. They make a profile. They'll tell you what vendors are using, quick description about themselves. You can go browse into the marketplace, find their company, and write a sales pitch to them. And when you write that sales pitch to them, we'll go route that pitch to the person that's appropriate based on the department you want to sell to.
Yeah.
They get an email where they go in and they see all the pitches that are waiting for them sorted by the dollar amount. So if someone offers them more money, that pitch gets higher in their inbox inside of Pitchfire. If they get offered less money, those go to the bottom of the inbox, but they can look at them still. And most people answer all of them, to be honest with you. Like the response rate's like 60% right now. But inside that Pitchfire instance, you literally just go pick one by one who you want to pitch. Yeah. And the neat part is because you know that there's a 60% response rate, you could do a lot more cooler stuff with your pitch.
Okay.
Like if I wanted to send piano video, the problem for me is I can't prospect people that are on Pitchfire because they're already my customer.
Right.
So I have to do like grab a piano and a microphone and make music and send it to someone over a LinkedIn message or something. Because if they were already on Pitchfire, I would just send that. But if you're someone watching this video and you're like, oh, I want to get someone to respond, don't just copy and paste your email that you'd be sending them into a pitch on Pitchfire.
Right.
You have 1,000 characters. Write something knowing that you're actually going to hear back from them. Go research them a little bit. Read about them on LinkedIn. Find something you can bring up about them and lead with that in your framework. I can share the framework too that works really well on it. But right now it's pretty healthy. About 1 in 3 pitches will turn into a meeting. It's actually it's closer to 1 in 2. But I don't want to oversell it. Like it's about a third of the pitches you send.
So where do
go ahead. Sorry.
How do you get so again, I'm a seller. I've got these prospects that I want to make, basically pitches to. Where do they come from? I mean, do they just sign up themselves? They're like, hey, or do you?
Yeah, that's the hardest part about doing this is we're building a marketplace. So like you have to only sell one side. Yeah. We're not really trying to go after sellers. I'm really trying to go after buyers. Sure. And buyers being people that get prospected. The way we've been getting them mainly has been we do word of mouth. We do a lot of stuff with people in the B2B marketing, sales, and demand gen space.
Right.
Like you guys honestly you'd probably clean up in our marketplace because like you're going after that market a little bit. But that's kind of been our sweet spot that we do really well in. We've been actually, one of the things that we've been struggling with, full transparency, is we've been trying to get full teams on. Because what happens is every person that installs and uses Pitchfire and joins our marketplace,
right, we
give them a plugin they can use in their inbox. And anytime that they get prospected, they could send that person to their Pitchfire listing. So we're trying to regulate and make a place where the buyer can not get called and emailed 100 times and just keep ignoring it. and instead get incentivized to answer the prospecting, and the seller on the backside actually gets an answer from that prospect.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like this approach is more like, I mean, I could see some people saying maybe it's a little more kind of tactical, if you will. I mean, are you still in this approach? Are you still able to maintain, more intimacy and authenticity in the process? You think it's more? You think it's less? And what's your thought there?
Yeah, the cool part is there isn't a conflict of interest. Like a lot of people always, they hear and they're like, oh, I got to pay a prospect to pay. That seems unethical.
Yeah.
The neat part is it's actually more ethical because we're paying them the same amount of money to say yes as we do no.
Okay.
Like we're not like pushing you. If I were, for example, if you're like, hey, I'll send you a $50 gift card if you take a meeting with me.
Yeah.
You're kind of asking a lot for me to go to a 30-minute meeting with you and hear your pitch.
Right.
But if I'm asking someone to take 1 or 2 minutes to go answer a pitch, and I'm putting it in like an intake process where that vendor is now saved somewhere and I can go look for vendors that I've talked to before.
Yeah.
You're like not just buying that response, you're getting listed into a place where they can go and find you again if they're looking for a vendor.
Right.
So like there's incentive on that end too. But anyway, the way that we get around it is like, I think a good way to think about it is like most companies will spend somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 per person in a year on technology to try and get in front of somebody and get their attention and follow them with advertising online. Wouldn't you rather give that money directly to your prospects so they can like pay off a credit card debt or send their kid to college or whatever they want to do? I have one guy who actually used the money to buy a flight for his father to come here because he lived in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And he was like a CMO of a company. He's like, I can afford it, but like now I'm actually getting my pitches in one spot and I'm able to go do this and not even break a sweat doing it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I talked to other, some people that I've interviewed, right? They tend to do these, Friday at 2:00, I do demos, of different companies and different folks. And so it kind of goes into that, right? So to me, as a seller, the value of it is that I've got really a somewhat warm audience. So that I'm working with here. And to get that response rate or that meeting, rate down to 3-to-1 versus 230-to-1, that's massive. I mean, it's huge.
Well, the other cool part is you should still do normal prospecting.
Yeah.
Because the neat part is if you run paid prospecting campaigns, it's just another channel. You run paid marketing,
Yeah.
you run prospecting, and you do paid prospecting as like a third bucket of something that you do.
Yeah.
And you start putting some budget. If you collaborate with marketing on it, you can do some really cool stuff. My vision for this thing is the reason that we don't put a ton of effort into doing crazy prospecting stunts to get in front of somebody. Like, why don't we make a Super Bowl ad for one account at a time, right?
Right.
The reason we don't is because the probability of them ever seeing that ad is super low.
Yeah.
But if I do something creative and different that makes that prospect feel special,
Right.
and I know that I'm going to hear back from them at a 60% clip rate,
Yeah.
now my quality of the pitch and effort I'm going to put in is going to be much higher.
Yeah. It makes sense. How are you guys at Pitchfire? How are you kind of using AI to impact what you're doing? I mean, is it all just kind of, manual, or do you actually incorporate AI? You kind of,
so
personalization, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So a couple things that we do. We have a Chrome plugin that people can use when they get prospected.
Okay.
And we actually will look at the email and predict if it's a cold email or not for you.
Okay.
So buyers can do that. On the seller side, one of the things that we work on is when you go into our marketplace, once you start sending 10 or 15 or 20 pitches inside Pitchfire,
Yeah.
our marketplace will actually show different people that we think match up more with the people you're trying to sell to.
Okay.
And that's all being done with AI. Trust me, I couldn't do that. I'm not a data scientist. I would
Right.
need AI to help me out with that.
Yeah.
So that's that's kind of an element that we're working on that end. There's our vision for this eventually is I actually want to build it so that you're not just going into Pitchfire and doing the prospecting and getting a response. I want to turn it into a full place where you live and you do the whole deal inside Pitchfire. And you don't have to, a seller doesn't have to worry about a deal going cold
Right.
after you've had the first response. So we're actually going to we're going to be shifting more into like a chat interface, almost like a buying room
Yeah.
that you do your full conversation back and forth. And the incentive for the buyer not dropping off is they get paid every 30 days to keep talking to you.
Oh, cool. And so it's almost kind of build like a deal room, like a virtual deal room.
Yeah, but think of it inverted. So it'll be a buying room for the buyer instead. The buyer will invite the seller into that room, and then the seller and the buyer can have all their vendor communication. Anytime a vendor wants to go back and talk to that buyer they've had a conversation with,
right,
you pop back into that room and you talk. And if that person doesn't respond, hit a button, add $30 to the pod. We'll go email them and be like, hey, this person's trying to contact you for $30 to hear back from them.
Okay.
You're up for renewal in 90 days. Can you respond, please? So like, we're going to try and turn this into like a full way of life for you to have buyers and sellers communicate.
Got it. Do you have and you don't have to use the company's name, but you have a really specific success story, that's taken place over the last quarter, 6 months, year, something like that?
Yeah. I'll give them the shout out because I think they have a great service too. There's a founder, there's a company called Spiralize, and their CEO, Sahil Patel, has been using Pitchfire regularly. Whenever we get a new person that comes in that works in marketing or demand gen, they run an agency that helps you with website conversion. Okay. And so what he'll do is he'll actually go log into Pitchfire and he'll go rip off like 6 or 7 pitches every time that he logs in.
Right. He
went in and offered pitches to people well over $200 to get a response.
Yeah.
Because if he ends up closing them, he gets like 40 or 50x that on a return on investment from it. Anyway, last month he sent out 7 pitches, 5 of them turned into meetings and 3 turned into clients.
Wow.
So like it does work. He's amazing at sales. Yeah. Go check him out and follow him on LinkedIn, Sahil Patel.
Okay.
He does a lot of cool video content about like website conversion and positioning your website and stuff to get clients. But he's been really successful with it. Prior to working with us, they were actually doing a campaign where they would go send steak knives to people.
Right.
So like they'd get a nice knife made and send it to people in the mail.
Yeah.
The thing that sucks is they'd spend $300 or $400 on that knife.
Yeah.
And some of them never got back to them. On this, they're only paying money if they respond.
Right. Wow. That's incredible. So thinking about AI, right? Do you think that as we kind of move into the future of AI and, it's changing so fast all the time, right? Do you think that is outbound prospecting, is it going to be all AI at some point? Do you think it's always going to have this kind of human nuance to it that requires that human touch? What's your sense there?
There are 2 things that I think are still not mainstream yet with AI prospecting.
Okay.
The first is replicating the AI model to be you. Every person, we talked at the beginning of this podcast, everyone's got a different way of connecting with people. They have different life experiences. I think what we're going to do is we're going to get more comfortable with having AI do outbound, but have it replicate being the person with their individual experiences. Because one of the things that we've learned over the past 10 years as general knowledge is you can't prospect someone just based on where they work anymore.
Right.
People change jobs too much. So like if I go prospect somebody and say, I love that your company did this, one of the 3 people that you prospect is going to be out of that job in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at this point. So like you have to find a way to relate to that person individually. My vision is I expect we're going to see AI buying and AI selling both be done together. So maybe it'll be you log in on Pitchfire. Company might go and write and share like, what are our top pains and priorities this month? And the person actually sending the pitch and paying the company money to respond is an AI bot. Right. Like that might be where we're heading with this. It's changing so much over the past couple months too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what are you saying actually?
Yeah, I think, from an AI standpoint, I mean, I've been in a lot of, gone to a lot of different conferences on it and things like that. I think that human piece it's going to be tough to completely replace that, right? Doesn't mean that your point, we want eventually, and maybe sooner than later, have kind of AI working on both sides. But and some of it probably has to do with an individual's age as well, I think, right? Because the younger generations that's grown up into AI, they're not going to know the difference. I mean, it's going to be so natural for them that they won't even care. But you get a little older, and that's it's a new technology that other people are having to adopt, and I think it'll be a little bit harder for them. So I think that human element is going to be there for a while, but over time, I think it's good. It may become less necessary to have it as dominant as it is right now. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, that's definitely something. I think a lot of them are committing money to it and not seeing the ROI or return because humans are still on the other side receiving those emails and calls and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what the way I'm picturing it is like, have you ever bought anything off Facebook Marketplace?
No, I've used it, but I don't think I've ever actually purchased anything.
Yeah, you've been the seller, like selling something, or you've just glanced at it?
Just glanced at it, Yeah.
This is crazy, but I've used Facebook Marketplace probably way more than the average person. I bought a lot of my film equipment on Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
I bought my last car off Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Like, I literally use it all the time. When you buy stuff on Facebook Marketplace, you do all your qualification stuff back and forth through chat. You don't go and like call the person up on the phone and do a demo and do a screen share and talk through that stuff. So like cars are big purchases and people do that all the time. That's that's like the second biggest thing that people buy. I think the first one on Facebook Marketplace is actually apartments.
Right.
Like people get apartments and rent and stuff in big cities. That's kind of their biggest market, I think, for it. But they've basically taken the security risk that people used to run into using Craigslist and shifted it over to Facebook. Anyway, I think that's actually where a lot of B2B buying and selling is going to go. It's going to be more like, I'm going to go as a human, talk to another human, but it might not be over face-to-face. It might be over chat.
Right.
And you might have a full conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And the whole reason that you want to get someone on a call is you have their attention for 30 minutes, but it's now touch and go. People are info gathering. Like a lot of people don't go through your form and then attribute it back to the sales rep. They're going back and just seeing your brand again online somewhere. They're going to see our podcast and then be like, I'm going to go check you out again.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
So that's kind of where I feel like this asynchronous going back and forth thing over email and text and phone is probably going to go away and it's going to shift to being a designated place to actually do your buying.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is kind of what you've created with Pitchfire, right? I mean, it's basically,
I'm trying. We'll see. Yeah. Right now we've got prospecting cornered, but like getting to that full cycle sales philosophy is actually really hard to do.
Yeah.
And my point being like, the other part is it's also going to open up buying because right now when you prospect people, about 45% of the people that get prospected are introverts.
Right.
And they never want to talk on a phone with a stranger. It's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
But they're okay breaking up with their boyfriends and girlfriends over text message.
That is true.
So like they're a lot more comfortable hiding behind text and being thoughtful with what they're saying.
Yeah.
And you can do all that stuff today. Is the hard part is getting the person to stay and keep talking to you and not drop off. Right. That's what we're trying to fix with the monetization part with paid prospecting.
Gotcha. How does that kind of, we're talking about AI, we're talking about, what Pitchfire is doing. You talk about three things that you can do as a seller besides cold email. I saw this kind of going through some of the information when I was, just doing a little bit of research on you. Talk about those. I think one of them was zero-click marketing, personal branding. Talk about those a bit.
Yeah, so I've been like completely blown away with this talk that Rand Fishkin did back last year called Zero Click Marketing. And he does the Spartaro people, Amanda and that whole team, they basically coined this phrase, but the concept is all the channels that we use to go and market to people today don't reward you for clicks. LinkedIn, if you put a link in your post, they punish you. They don't put it in the newsfeed.
Okay.
Instagram doesn't even let you post links unless you're doing a story. Facebook, it's the same thing. All these platforms, actually link tracking on email today. You guys, I read something you guys published about this, I think a couple of weeks ago about hey, you don't necessarily want to have link tracking on all the time on your emails.
Okay.
Right? Like there's stuff that could impact that. We're kind of moving toward this culture that people are hanging out in a certain place. And that's where you need to reach them. Your inbox is one of them. Your phone's one of them, obviously. But in the future, you might not even need a website for your company. You might just have a LinkedIn page and that's what they're looking at. Or you might just have a Facebook page and that's where they're looking at all your assets and all the information about your site.
Right.
And that's what's kind of crazy is all this attention is getting rewarded for it being in places that don't have clicks.
Yeah.
And so if you're a seller, I've actually been thinking about what if I could cold email people and instead of asking for a meeting, just share information. Hey, blah, blah, blah. I saw this and thought of you.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
All you're doing is get your brand in front of them and they'll eventually go to your website and click and convert. And guess what? When they go look at the CRM and see that you've been reaching out to them, they'll assign it to you with the lead scoring and the lead routing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's not a, yeah.
Like the ping strategy, right? Just, I mean, pinging people on a consistent, I mean, not just with, not just with email, but it sounds like what you were talking about was actually reaching out to people with, on a topic of interest, asking for nothing, just, hey, saw this, reminded me of you, wanted to send it to you and not asking for anything in return.
Yeah. What if you cold called someone and the goal of the call was to share information, not to actually get on a meeting with them?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? We're already training to do that. People go on LinkedIn or TikTok and spend hours scrolling through video. I mean, I'm not a big active TikTok user. I put TikToks up, but I use them on my computer. But like the people that spend hours scrolling through social media and stuff, they're not asking for anything in those videos. They're just making content.
Yeah.
You could literally do the same thing one-to-one to all these people that you're trying to reach out to as a seller.
Yeah.
And by the way, your platform is a great spot for that. Like you could do stuff like that. You could also do it on Pitchfire if you want. If you have a really cool content piece that you think would convince someone like, oh, maybe I'll go sign up for this. You could pay them money to go look at your content or piece that you're looking at and get a response on there. But you don't have to ask for a meeting. So that's what I mean by the zero-click marketing trend is like, maybe it's not a meeting. Maybe it's just getting air coverage to get some content and get the person familiar with you so that you inception them into going to your website and signing up.
Does the zero-click marketing approach, does that kind of dovetail into personal branding as a sales strategy for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like with personal branding, the thing is, if you're going to cold email and cold call people, you're more likely to hit back or hear back from somebody if they recognize your name.
Okay.
So like you got to put effort. When you email someone on a phone, for example, the three things you see if you're using Gmail or Outlook is the subject of the email, who the email is from, and the first sentence of your email.
Gotcha.
It's going to look at those three things. If they've never seen your name before, they're probably less likely to swipe and go look at the email.
Yeah.
But if I got an email, I live in New England. If I got an email from like, I don't know, Tom Brady when he was on the Patriots and a rep named Tom Brady, you bet your ass I'm going to go open that email and be like, Tom Brady's running me an email? Don't use fake names. That's not what I'm saying here. I was just using an example. But like, I see a lot of people's content online on LinkedIn that put stuff out there and they're just sharing nuggets. If I follow those people and then they email me and I recognize their name, I'm more likely to open the email.
Yeah.
We actually did a test of this at Lead IQ where I swapped my cold email account with someone else and I wrote as them and they wrote as me. And they had a higher reply rate writing on my account because I had a little bit more of a brand online versus them. Yeah. I don't remember what the number was. It was so long ago. It was like 2018 when we did it.
Okay.
But like, so that's kind of part of why you want to build a personal brand. If you want to build a personal brand easily, you want to be known for one topic. Okay. Like, don't go and like pick 100 different things. Like, I'm going to be known for sales. Like, that's too vague. It's better to pick one niche and hang in that lane with most of your posts.
Yeah. Gotcha. So just a small niche. Yeah. Because otherwise I guess you kind of either you overwhelm people or they don't understand the message that you're trying to communicate. I was going to ask you about kind of online presence mistakes. I mean, if you're trying to build this brand, right, then you're definitely doing that on, online, LinkedIn. What are some common mistakes you've seen sellers, do when they're trying to build an online presence?
It's important for you to do. And the other cool part is as you build a following, it allows you to enable using LinkedIn without using InMail. Because InMail, unfortunately, will go into a different inbox on LinkedIn versus a normal email. So like, if you like, for me, I have 19,000 people I can prospect that follow me on LinkedIn that they're first degree connections, and I don't have to like worry about my message going into a second inbox somewhere.
Got it.
So like, that's kind of nice. Like, that's good for me that like, I have access to those people and I don't have to worry about even having an email address.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Talk a little bit about these go-to-market camps. I saw that and kind of read a little bit about that. Are you still doing them? First, tell us kind of how that started, the whole, s'mores and bunk bed thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And so tell us about what it is. Are you still doing them? And, and I guess really about how you build that community.
Yeah. So I got this idea in 2018. I was doing stuff with the AISP and I hung out with Bob Perkins one day and I was like, man, we should just do like, you guys do these retreats and stuff. I'd love to do a summer camp for sales. Yeah. And so I had this idea and then the AISP got bought by another company and it got shelved and put on the back burner. And like, I just had it in a notebook for a long time.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing this year is we're actually throwing a go-to-market summer camp.
Okay.
I rented out a campground with beds and a bunk, and we're going to mainly focus on RevOps, sales, and demand gen, or marketing and demand gen for this one. But we're going to try and do this event. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It's crazy. It's harebrained, but like I'm renting out a campground, and we're literally going to do like a whole workshop that's like wrapped around planning your go-to-market strategy for 2026.
Right.
And goal is to, I'd love to have 100 people there, stay overnight.
Yeah.
You get a bunk bed, you get friends, you get to share your problems and gripe, but you also get some solutions. And I'm going to have camp counselors that are experts in all these different marketing fields. They're doing talks and workshops to help you with all the different channels that you use. Yeah. Cold email is totally going to be one of them too. Like we should definitely talk about that topic.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, I think that's that. So you've actually not, so have you not done one of these camps yet? This is the first.
Yeah, we're trying this first one. I've been trying to build in public. I'm going to be real with you. It's been hard to get attendees. It's actually been kind of hard, but like we've got like what I've been doing is when sponsors sponsor, they buy a set of tickets and then they go get their best customers there. Right. So I'm trying to build this like super squad of people to come in and like do that. We haven't had problems getting sponsors, but like the normal organic stuff, I'm still like, the hard part is I'm juggling Pitchfire while doing this. So I'm like, I'm trying to like do all these different things, but yeah. So we're trying to do the summer camp. First one, I'm expecting it to be kind of a good learning experience, and maybe we can do if I can get it going, maybe I'll do one or two of these things a year.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I think it's a really interesting idea. Love to find out once you do it. Love to find out how it came off for you guys. So
so the first one we're doing September 7th to 9th. If people are listening and you're interested, you can go to go-to-marketcamp.com to sign up. It's like you get a bed, food, everything's included. It's like not a conference where like you have to go get a hotel or anything. Like we're literally staying at a summer camp.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I love that.
Thanks.
So we're getting close to time, and that went really fast. By the way, I didn't expect that. Let me ask you this last question, right? So if you could kind of redesign the entire like B2B prospecting motion from scratch, what would you eliminate out of that, and maybe what would you kind of double down on?
Wow, I love this question. Well, I mean, obviously, I sort of was trying to do this with Pitchfire. Like we're trying to make a highway for sales. That's like the attempt of it. Like keep taking the back roads and using the channels that people are hanging out in, or make a place where like it's understood the context is for buying and selling.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I really don't like is tricks, and that's something that still hits me like double taps when you call a number, then call it again.
Yeah.
And use a local dialer to trick someone into thinking like, oh, like this is an emergency. Right. I need to drop what I'm doing. I don't like that because it starts the relationship off with tension with the person in the event that they do answer.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see some stuff like that go away.
Okay.
I see like, it's funny. I did a post about this on LinkedIn last week. I have like 50 emails in my inbox that are fake forwards from founders. Like my colleague Michael mentioned that you should talk to Ryan, and I'll scroll down and it's clearly the SDR that wrote the email before. Like, just like stuff like that. We should just be honest with each other and tell the truth and be like there's no crime in like not knowing somebody. The thing that's beautiful about prospecting is it gives everybody a fair shake.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't grow up in a community with like where I'm well connected, you have the capability to become well connected with a cold email, cold call, or with paid prospecting potentially. Like that's what's nice about this whole game. And if you're going to do tricks, it gives sales a bad name.
Yeah. Got it. So I always like to end with like a few key takeaways, right? So from your point of view, the company you own, the company you founded, the work that you're doing, if somebody's listening to this, they're a sales leader, right? And they're like, man, I this is a great conversation, really interesting, but summarize it down into 3 key takeaways, right? For their outbound approach. So what would you tell them?
The first thing is when it comes down to philosophy, it's put your prospect first.
Okay.
Put the person you're trying to get in front of first. That's what Pitchfire is all about. We're trying to help companies put their prospect first. If you really care about your prospect, pay them money to answer your prospecting instead of just doing the normal thing. That's kind of the first bucket.
Love that.
The second part is to put your prospect first. what you really need to do is you need to build a relationship with them. And the best way to build a relationship with them is common interest, doing things that AI can't replicate. AI can't tell you what experience. They can't pretend to write an experience about me going to Chicago and trying every deep dish pizza place in 1 week and having terrible acid reflux.
Yeah.
If I'm prospecting someone in Chicago,
right.
So the big takeaway for that is find common interest with your prospect,
Yeah.
share feelings, be vulnerable, and they'll be vulnerable back with you. I think that's an important part of this. And I think the third takeaway would be creative. Business is so stuffy and boring today. If you're bored doing normal prospecting, try and do something creative.
Right.
A lot of us that work in sales and do selling didn't grow up and say, boy, I want to work in sales. You kind of accidentally fall into it. It's like an island of misfit toys.
Yeah.
And we all have cool backgrounds and skills and stuff that we can do. If you play an instrument for your prospect. If you like to write something for your prospect.
Yeah.
If you want to write a haiku for a prospect, I'd love to see someone do a cold email campaign where they just use AI to write a bunch of haikus for prospects and then send that and see how the results would be.
Yeah, I love it.
Do something cool and interesting and fun for that prospect so that it's not just dealing with the same exact template that everybody sends today.
Right. Gotcha. So 3 things. Put your prospect first. I love that because that's really about building trust, right? And then build the relationship. Again, kind of continuing down that building trust thing, find the common interest, be vulnerable, build a relationship like you would with anybody else. And then finally be creative. So you kind of stand out a little bit. So those are great.
Thanks.
Ryan, we are at time, my man. I really do appreciate you being on today. Appreciate the conversation. And I'd really like to know how your go-to-market camp comes out. So, once you do it, shoot it back to me, ping me, let me know how it goes. Maybe we'll get on and talk about it.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good day.
You too.